the technology boom in South America. I know you were doing a lot in Argentina and Brazil. Weren't there some .coms that you're
a lot of .coms, a lot of
bombs,
.coms, yes, dot bombs, and
that must have hurt.
It does. In private equity investing, however, you realize that 1 out of 4 of your transactions are going to go south all the way, meaning you're going to lose all your investment. And
so, how much money was invested during that time period?
From 1996 to I guess it would be April of 2000. Our own investment was around $225 million, but with syndications it was well over $1 billion, meaning that co-investors that invested with us in transactions.
And what percentage of that was invested in Latin American emerging markets?
That was all Latin American emerging markets, all of it.
And where are these investments today?
Some of the investments have done well. Some of them are gone. Companies like Latinvia is thriving in Argentina.
What's Latinvia?
Latinvia is basically it's a B2B business to business facilitator for web services and fulfillment services,
like logistics
and
shipping.
Things like, yeah, it's a very innovative group of people. Some of the other companies, we own some private teleports, which were sold to the larger telco companies when the privatization of the Brazilian telecom sector happened, and so we did well on those. Some of those companies are not around anymore, however.
So, what's been the most successful investment that you've pursued in the Latin and also in the Caribbean? I understand you've done some work in the Caribbean.
The Caribbean has probably been the most successful, and that was investing in hotels in Jamaica.
Wow.
And the island of Jamaica, which was a fabulous.
Why do you think that your investments in the Caribbean have been more successful in other areas of the region?
I don't think that you can point to the Caribbean and say the Caribbean is a better atmosphere. We look for opportunity, and we don't really see boundaries. We don't see it's in Colombia, or we don't see it's in Jamaica, we don't see it's in Argentina. We just see it's a global opportunity. And today, truly, the financial markets are global.
So what are the kinds of things that you look at when you're assessing an opportunity? You look at the political environment, the economic environment, the legal framework to assess the sustainability of these particular opportunities?
Yeah, certainly. I think one of the most important things is to make sure that the management of the company is sound. There's an old expression to say, you bet on the jockey, not necessarily on the horse. If you have sound management and you have a decent political and economic atmosphere, then it's just a matter of what share of the market do you think the company can obtain.
It sounds like there's a lot of information to assess in terms of evaluating opportunities for Latin America. Stay tuned for more information after this break. Hi, I'm Whitney Belker, and welcome back to Miami's Global Connection. John, we were talking about some of the things that you and your company have to assess when evaluating investment opportunities in Latin America and the Caribbean. We talked, there's the political arena, the economic arena, the legal, evaluating transparency. What can you tell us about what are the things you really focus on?
Well, when we look at investing in any particular company in a country, it's important that the laws of those countries give the rights to investors who are not from that country. And lately, the laws have changed a lot.
In what way?
Well, just for an example, if you go back to talk about Argentina again, during the emergency plan, the government gave the opportunity for private companies to dissolve contracts with other private companies and to nullify contracts. That was not a good thing, because basically
were a lot of U.S. companies hurt by this?
I don't think that too many companies took opportunities to do that, simply because the World Bank and the international aid organizations came in and cried foul. So things like that we look for. We look for transparency. We look for rights. If you invest in equity in certain private companies who may have pensioners that are also shareholders, the pensioners will always take a senior position or take precedent to any private investment coming in.
So you're talking about the pension funds?
I'm talking about pension funds, yes, pension funds, sindicatos, or pensioners who would invest in privately held companies. They would have rights that would supersede any rights from an outside investor. Now, a lot of this is changing.
So you're saying that they would have, like you said, they would have more rights than if your company or a company from Chicago decides to invest in a transaction in Brazil, or... A
very typical situation would be a private investment in a public company in Latin America, where if we came in to make an investment, the company would have to tender the same rights to the pensioners, and may actually have to finance them to invest pari passu, or along the same lines at the same valuation as an outside investor.
I understand that there have been some new trends in the real estate market that have opened up opportunities for foreign investors, including U.S. individuals and companies, related to the real estate market and collateral. What can you tell us about that?
Well, the laws have changed in many of the countries, and it's a growing trend. It's a good trend, where in the past, individuals and even companies have not been able to use real estate as collateral. And if you take a look at any sound financial...
For example, where has that been true?
In Argentina, in Brazil,
in Mexico?
In Peru, in Mexico, yeah. There's been tremendous reforms. In Chile, more recently, there have been reforms where individuals are able to actually build a financial base by using real estate. It was never that way before.
And how did people collateralize projects before these reforms?
Well, in essence, they had to find either derivatives or third parties, which was quite expensive.
I guess cash.
Or cash. Yeah, if you purchased a house, you would actually come to the closing with a suitcase full of cash or a cashier's check from a reputable bank.
That sounds so strange for many of our viewers at home, I'm sure, thinking about bringing your $100,000 for your first home in suitcases and boxes to the bank.
It has been done before, and a lot of people still operate that way on a cash basis.
Wow. So what do you think the upcoming trends and opportunities are for investments over the Latin American region?
Well, I think that the Latin American region is again going through another rebirth, if you will, where the governments are taking austerity plans to improve the transparency and the quality of the financial markets. That's a very big issue. As well, they're depoliticizing a lot of the financial arenas, which allows people to compete on a more even playing field, and that's good for everybody.
And I understand there are more opportunities opening up for women and minorities as well throughout the region for microempresas, which are the small micro enterprises, as we say here in the U.S., and also, for example, in Bolivia, the Andean natives as well as women have been receiving more opportunities through organizations like the World Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank, where they can seek financing through these institutions. What can you tell us about these programs?
Well, it's it's called cottage investment. They call it cottage investment, and it's been underway for a long time, but it's really gathering some